Namaste and welcome viewers. You're watching Mirror Prime. I'm Ashish Pareek and tonight on the show we'll take a hard look at the political admission that has sparked a fiery debate on the so-called freebie culture in India. Karnataka's Home Minister G. Parameshwara has now openly acknowledged what many have suspected for a long time, that the Congress government's poll guarantees have placed a financial strain on the state. But while the government defends these schemes as necessary for the poor, the bigger question remains, who exactly is bearing this burden? Before we talk more about it, listen in to what the Karnataka Home Minister had to say.
ಹೊರೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿ, ಹೊರೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಮಾತಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಹೊರೆ ಆಗಿದೆ? ಬಡವರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಹೊರೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ತಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ಕಾರ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಹೊರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಬಡವರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಕೊಡುವ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊರೆ ಆಗ್ಲೇಬೇಕು. ಅದನ್ನ ಕಾನ್ಶಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ.
So clearly, the Karnataka Home Minister there says that the poll guarantees that got them to power now have become a burden. But what's interesting is that this is not a burden on the government, as the minister claims. Instead, this is a burden on taxpayers. The very people these guarantees were supposed to help, they now find themselves paying more for essential services. Let's talk about Karnataka, because of course this is the Home Minister that's speaking there. Bus fares are up by 15%. Nandini milk is now costlier. Medical services in government hospitals seeking a hike of 15 to 20%. Even an added cess on vehicle registration is what we are seeing. Petrol and diesel prices, they are also up. Education fees, that's also up. The list, viewers, continues to go on and on. BJP now is calling it a textbook example of financial mismanagement. But viewers, there's an irony to that. When it comes to elections, the BJP also leaves no stone unturned in matching these freebies they now claim to despise. For example, both the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge have spoken out openly against the freebie culture. And yet, when the polls come knocking, both these sides roll out their own list of freebies, competing in a race that no one wins in the long run. The Supreme Court also has repeatedly warned against irrational freebies. They have said that such freebies create a class of parasites. Even the CAG report, the India's top auditor, has raised concerns now. Where does this leave the common man? Is this political welfare or is this financial wreckage? Have these guarantees truly benefited the people or have they only led to more economic pain? Lots of questions there. We'll be joined by a guest from the BJP, also from the Congress and also a citizen activist. But before that, let's listen into what the common people in Karnataka have to say.
कर्नाटक सरकार भी गवर्नमेंट क्या कांग्रेस सरकार है, वो भी क्या है कि एक तरफ से देते और दूसरे तरफ से खींचने का भी काम कर रहा है कि पेट्रोल का स्टेट का टैक्स ज़्यादा किया और यहाँ का स्टैम्प ड्यूटी भी ज़्यादा किया. वो भी एक तरफ से दिया तो एक तरफ से खींचने का भी काम कर रहे, वो भी सही नहीं.
ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಹೋಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಆದ ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ್ ಅವರು ಈಗ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಡವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡುವ ಎಲ್ಲ 5 ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ಕೊಡುವಂಥದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ನಮಗೆ ಹೊರೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಹೊರೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅನಿಸ್ಲಿಲ್ವಾ? ಈಗ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳೋದು? ಈಗ ನೀವು ಹೀಗೆ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಬಡ ಜನರು ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ? ಈಗ ಅಡ್ಡದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಹಾಕಿದಾಗೆ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಹಾಗೆ ಈಗ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಆಗ್ತದ? ನೀವು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸೂಕ್ತವಾದ ಪರಿಹಾರವನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಿ ಬಡ ಜನರಿಗೆ ನ್ಯಾಯವನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ್ ಅವರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಈ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಏನಿದೆ, ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸುಮಾರು 2 ವರ್ಷಗಳಾಗಿದೆ. ಅವರು ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮಂಥ ಜನಸಾಮಾನ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದರ ಭರವಸೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮಂಥ ಜನಗಳನ್ನು ಮಂಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಈಗ ಗೃಹಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟವರು ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ BPL ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಇದ್ದವರು IPL ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇಂಥದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಪಾಪದವರ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಅವರು ಹೊಡಿತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೊರೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಆದರೆ ಜನಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೊರೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೊರೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಜನಗಳ ತಲೆಗೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಈಗ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಫ್ರೀ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ತಗೋತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮಂಥರ APL ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಇದ್ದವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಬಿಲ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೆ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಡ. ಇಂಥ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇಡ. ಇವರಿಗೆ ತಾಕತ್ತಿದ್ದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇಂಥ ಭಾಗ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಇವರು.
ಇವತ್ತು ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಏನು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಜನರಿಗೆ ತೋರಿಸಿ ಆಸೆಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಟ್ಟಿಸಿ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಹೋಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಏನಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ್ ಅವರೇ ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಏನು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇದು ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊರೆಯಾಗಿದೆ ಎಂಬುದನ್ನು ಅವರೇ ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವೀಗ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಜನರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಈಗ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರವೇ ಒಪ್ಪಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಹೊರೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಚುನಾವಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗೆಲ್ಲುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂತಹ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಈಗ ಖುದ್ದು ಹೋಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅವರೇ ಒಪ್ಪಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದು ನಮಗೆ ಈಗ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, ಇಂತಹ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಜನರನ್ನು ನೀವು ಮಂಗ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಚುನಾವಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗೆದ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ.
All right, so there you heard it. These are the common people of Karnataka. This is their opinion on the so-called freebie culture, and you might be able to gauge what their understanding is and if they really think that these freebies are benefiting them. Joining us right now, Bhaskar from the BJP, Sandeep Anirudhan, who's a citizen activist, and also shortly will be joined by Brijesh Kalappa from the Congress. Sandeep, before we go across to our political guest now, let me start with you. The understanding here that we have when you hear the common man there is that they now seem to have figured out that this entire freebie culture is basically a con job. One hand, you make certain items free. On the other hand, there is another route through which your hard-earned money is going. So basically, at the end of the day, it's the Aam Aadmi that is actually funding the freebie. So nobody's benefiting in this.
No, it's quite true. The way the governments across the countries, I mean, the political parties seem to have done this is, what do you call it? It's opportunistic. They announce freebies for the sake of elections. After elections, they take knee-jerk reactions when they see that the balance sheet doesn't match. I wouldn't actually say that all of these are bad decisions, but it's the way these governments are going about it. Number one, most of these political parties don't seem to have depth in terms of strategic planning or proper scheme, creation. Because you see, subsidizing public transport is not a bad idea. All the Western countries are doing it now because they are doing it for a purpose. They're doing it so that they want to decongest their roads. Because what happens, if the roads are congested like they are in Delhi and in Bangalore today, nobody is looking at our health budget.
Sandeep, I
Our
think there
health
seems
budgets
to be
are
some
going
sort
up
of an
because
issue
people are
there
getting
with your
more and
network.
more disease.
I'll ask my team to fix that. And meanwhile, while that happens, let me go across to a guest from the Congress, Brijesh Kalappa, who's joined us now. Mr. Brijesh, I'm not sure if you heard the common citizens that we spoke to answering all of these questions, talking about the freebie culture. And Mr. Kalappa, the understanding now seems to be very clear. The fact that if the Home Minister today comes out and says that this is a burden on the state government, did the Congress not know this before the elections? And if they did, why did they not tell the people that it's going to be a burden and you at the end of the day will have to pay through some other route? Is this a classic example of financial mismanagement?
See, while communicating a message, it's always stated that, look, if I'm doing something for somebody, then it is always stated that, look, it is a burden, but I will do it. As the Home Minister said that we are not going to do it. As he said that we are going to revoke the schemes. As he said that, no, we can't continue the schemes. Nobody has said it. Of course, yes, it is a burden. There is no question about it. It is certainly a burden. And also the fact that we are capable of fulfilling that burden. We are capable of carrying that burden. There's no question of saying that, no, we are walking away from it. As the Congress party ever stated, has anybody ever stated that we are walking away from it? We are not willing to accept the challenge. Like Mr. Fadnavis has today said, Mr. Fadnavis of Maharashtra, even before his term is starting, he is already, going back on what the promises he had made were. But the Karnataka government has already been in place for 2 years. Are we not entitled to say, yes, this is burdensome, but we are going to carry it through?
Mr. Kalappa, I totally understand what you're trying to say here. The Congress government is committed in ensuring that the poll promises are met.
Exactly.
But the big question here is that when you say burden, what's the need of the burden apart from the Congress or any other party winning the election? Why should a common citizen bear the burden? Because what happens is that because of this so-called burden, which it is being put out in such a way that it's some sort of a gift that you're giving out to the people, the prices of other essential commodities are being hiked. I'll ask my team to play out all those details there. This burden, Mr. Kalappa, is not on the government. It's not on the Chief Minister. It's not on the Deputy CM. It is directly on the tax-paying citizens of the country.
No, I think that's a very myopic way of looking at it. Point is that there are specific guarantees intended to reach specific set of people. For instance, the women in the country or across the country are certainly subjugated. They're not treated well. They're not financially
Mr.
independent.
Kalapa, you're
Therefore,
talking about
Karnataka
women.
government.
If you remember, just last week, there were allegations that for 3 months, Griha Lakshmi Yojana wasn't being dispersed. The amount was not being dispersed. The Deputy CM himself admitted it. The CM says, I have no idea what's happening. I'll check with the department. So even the so-called beneficiaries, even they are not happy. In fact, one of the women that we spoke to before you joined, we just played her bite as well. She basically says that she's eligible, but since the Congress came to power in the last 2 years, she has not been able to register. So even the small set of people that you're trying to benefit are not getting the benefit.
See, I think if you're going to look anecdotally and say that, person A in X street is not getting the money, I think this is totally anecdotal and it's completely, I don't know if your viewers will believe this kind of a theory. First, this anecdotal evidence, I think as a channel, I think you should completely discard because you will always find somebody, maybe he's not a BJP, he's not a Congress voter, maybe he's been put up by the BJP. Somebody will come and say something. See, as far as having the general, evidence regarding this entire thing, look at it all. Has anybody across the board, I'm speaking of large groups, said that no, this is not happening? Of course, there may be delays. There may be delays, and I accept that there would be a couple of months of delay. But has anybody from government said, no, we are going to discontinue this scheme, that we are not going to pay these women, it's all over? Nobody has said any of that, right? There would be administrative issues, there would be financial hurdles, which we'll have to overcome. And the Congress party is determined to overcome all this and to provide for a better future for women, for the youth, for the people across the board, for people from BPL families, which we have been doing. Mr. Siddaramaiah, even during his first term, BJP made
All
similar
right.
comments.
Let
But
me also get in
throughout
Mr. Bhaskar Rao from the BJP. Mr. Rao, your party says this is a classic case of financial mismanagement, and Mr. Kalapa here says that all of these complaints are anecdotal. It does not represent a major class of beneficiaries. What's your response?
I admire Brijesh for having put up a defense of a very weak case. Congress party has played a very cruel and dangerous strategy to come to power in Karnataka by laying their hands on the exchequer of the state to contest elections. It has lured people and cheated people in the name of guarantees. And as you rightly pointed out, people's guarantees are not being fulfilled. Buses have been broken down, services have been curtailed, and there is a shortage of bus services. Electricity, once again, we are staring at a summer and the electricity supply is also very poor. And as the ministers in the cabinet of Mr. Siddaramaiah are themselves questioning the wisdom of the guarantee. Satish Jarkiholi questioned, D.K. Shikumar has questioned. And you will also see that in the last 2 years, not a single foundation stone has been laid for any kind of capex projects over there. And the previous budget was a revenue deficit budget. God knows what huge revenue deficit budget will be coming up on 7th of March, which the Chief Minister is going to do. So the government of Karnataka has gone completely into a financial tailspin and a financial bankruptcy. It just blindly copied the Aam Aadmi Party's scheme, which the Aam Aadmi Party themselves did not implement in Delhi. And here they gave some glitzy cards.
Mr. Rao.
So this is a classic case.
Mr. Rao, when you started,
no capital expenditure.
You admired and you praised Mr. Brijesh Kalapa's defense. And you said that the Congress is playing this very dangerous game. And I really admire your idealistic view as well. But Mr. Bhaskar Rao, when you say that the Congress plays a dangerous game by offering freebies in the state of Karnataka, tell me what the BJP does when it offers freebies in the state of Haryana, in the state of Maharashtra, in the state of Uttar Pradesh, in the state of Madhya Pradesh, in Gujarat. Is this not a danger? So are you basically saying that when the Congress does it, it is a dangerous game? But when we do it, well, it's a welfare scheme. So it's almost like your Revdi is bad, mine is better.
So today's discussion is on the economics of Karnataka. I have no privy to the financial situation of the other states over there. Brijesh and I are aware of the financial situation of Karnataka. So we speak of Karnataka and what's happening in Karnataka. So let us restrict our discussion as we are the only two panelists about Karnataka. We have no mandate to speak about Maharashtra or Haryana, etc., etc. But definitely, freebies are bad for any economics because freebies are not going to enrich the economy of any place. And what has happened in Karnataka, they have gone to a point of nowhere, and this is a very dangerous. Again, huge borrowings will be there for meeting revenue expenditure, not for capital expenditure, and servicing the borrowings over there. So, what is called as FRBMS, Fiscal Responsibility Act, which Karnataka themselves started before Government of India, we are ourselves going to be disobeying. And a man like Siddaramaiah who has presented 16 budgets, probably he'll be presenting his worst budget, probably his last budget also. Hopefully he puts up a budget which is full of financial wisdom and not this kind of taking the state to a brink of complete bankruptcy. No single project has been inaugurated. Not a single foundation stone has
Mr.
been laid
Bhaskar
for
Rao,
any capital.
I totally respect that you don't want to talk about what the BJP is doing in other states, and I totally respect your point of view on that, and I totally admire and respect it. But at the same time, Mr. Bhaskar Rao, you are now blaming the Congress for ruining the state's financial condition via the freebies. Help me understand if the condition was any better under Mr. Bommai. Are you now saying that the debt, because we have the data, are you saying that the debt did not increase when Mr. Bommai was in power? Are you saying the BJP improved the financial condition?
See, they have gone to such a worse condition where SCP TSP fund meant for the welfare of scheduled castes completely diverted for guarantees over there. Finally, guarantees are also not being fulfilled. Welfare of SC/ST is also not being taken up, except corruption, and you have seen how money is being swindled left and right. This is only a way of having come to power by extremely nefarious political means. And now they are in a quandary. Now they want to withdraw. And
Again, Mr. Rao, I totally understand what you're trying to say here. But for example, think of this as a voter. Think of this as a voter and as a viewer. A voter in Karnataka listening to you will be of an opinion that, all right, the BJP is a party with a difference. The BJP does not support this freebie politics. But how is a voter convinced when your party in other states, I totally understand you don't want to talk about other states, but it's your party that offers similar freebies in other states to come to power. And when you say that we won't do it in Karnataka, how does a voter believe you? Because this is what you said in other states, you did it there. How is it that a voter will be convinced you will not repeat it in Karnataka?
Parikji, in Karnataka, the voters have been fooled and taken on a right, as you rightly showed, how the women are in distress. By doling out small amounts of money, you are not going to solve problems. Government schools are being closed down. Universities are being shut. And they are talking about tunnel roads and gargantuan projects where they have no money. It's all attention diversion. They just want to survive politically. They have no money in their coffers. And as you rightly pointed out, the price of each and everything, right from milk, electricity, water, metro, transport, and you name it, registration, everything has been raised. But still this money is not enough to meet their revenue expenditure over there. So at best, they take the warning and take corrective action. They have no planning. They have not done any kind of planning that how they're going to roll out. They just tried to copy what Aam Aadmi Party and Kejriwal spoke about in Delhi, and they have come to power here. And people are also gullible. There are innocent, gullible people thinking that they are going to get all these guys. Now the people are being fooled, absolutely fooled, taken for a ride, and they are begging for money.
I think the network of Mr. Sandeep Aniruddhan is patched. Sandeep, you just heard both sides of the spectrum here put out their point of view. Again, do you think this is essentially now a scheme in which, except for the politicians, except for the political parties, nobody benefits?
Welfare measures are not a bad thing, but I agree with you. The way political parties in India are going about doing it, using welfare schemes as a marketing program to come to elections, is absolutely wrong. Because
no, but Sandeep, the bigger question is, the problem is that when a party does something, they call it welfare. When others do it, they call it freebie. And it applies to all political parties. And this is the sort of word game that continues. And at the end of the day, it costs the state exchequer. And a person who's a middle-class tax-paying citizen does not get anything. But at the end of the day, ends up paying for everything.
Ashish, I agree with you. That's how it is being rolled out here. And that is wrong. Because, in fact, I agree with what Mr. Bhaskar also said, that there is no planning that precedes the thing. It is just an announcement and they're playing catch-up. That is actually wrong. If you look at it, say, let's take the example of London. London gets more money out of parking fees and congestion taxes. In Bangalore or in most Indian cities, zero money is collected from vehicles for parking. So if in say Bangalore, if you are subsidizing the what do you call that, the public transport cost by charging vehicles for parking and congestion tax, we'd still be profitable. I mean, we'll have more money left over for other schemes. But the government doesn't make sensible moves to balance the welfare measures. This is the problem. The problem is there's no planning that
Mr.
proceeds with.
Sandeep, I request you on behalf of every tax-paying citizen of this country, I request you not to give the government any more ideas about tax collection or any other methods of collection, because we've had enough. We can't pay for anything more, so you please stop giving any ideas and suggestions to the people. Tomorrow, there will be a parking fee, a congestion fee. I don't know what all fees you're talking about. And again, we are not getting the facilities that London is getting. So let's not compare the revenue model that London has. At least, Mr. Brijesh Kalappa, question again comes back to you. When your deputy CM comes out and says that don't expect development for 1 year because we don't have money for it, and then your economic advisor immediately as soon as you take charge comes out and says that, well, it's a massive burden on the tax exchequer, we're not sure how we're going to deal with it. And now again, your home minister comes out and says that, well, it's a massive burden, we will deal with it somehow. This basically does not inspire confidence. It somehow gives the idea that the Congress overpromised before the elections and now is under-delivering. There was no strategic scientific planning that you put in place before announcing the freebies.
See, I think it's very unfair to a chief minister who has presented as many as 16 budgets, who is supremely confident that he is going to follow through on each one of his promises. Even during his last term in office.
But Mr. Kadapa, Mr. Rao says that 16 budgets he is given out, but every single budget has pushed Karnataka deeper into a fiscal hole. That's what Mr. Rao from the BJP is saying.
No, see, as far as Mr. Rao, I'll speak about it separately. Mr. Rao is an IPS officer. He has served, he's entitled to serve in various parts of the country. And he says today that he doesn't have an idea how the BJP is functioning in different states. And as to the best of my knowledge, BJP is a national party. It's not a state party. And Mr. Rao today feigns ignorance and says that, no, I don't know what is happening in different states. But unfortunately for him, I can inform you that the BJP is exactly following the same model in other states, and hum kare to, whatever that great song is. So I think this is the first thing. Second part is that as far as these freebies are concerned, I must go to the original of all of them, and that is when MGR started the midday meal scheme. At that time, people panned MGR and said that no, this is only a film star coming and making announcement of such a scheme, and all this is hopeless and so on and so forth. Now, ultimately, midday meal has become the something of a guarantee throughout the country. Every single state has adopted the midday meal scheme. So just like that, the guarantees are also here to stay. Because ultimately, what is happening?
Kadapa, I absolutely love how conveniently you went to the state of Tamil Nadu. Let me give you one more additional example. In 2006, I believe it was the DMK that offered color television as well. So are you now telling me that color television is also going to be one of the promises that the Congress will roll out across the country?
No,
because if you're picking one example, you'll have to pick up the other one as well.
No. If I had it in my hand, certainly I would accept it. For this reason, that in the last 11 years, the rich are becoming richer. Mr. Adani has been moving from strength to strength, right? Mr. Ambani has been moving from strength to strength. But what about the lot of the poor person? Because if there is a census, you would know what the lot of the poor person on the street is, but you refuse to have a census for whatever reason. So you don't know how much people are earning, what is their standard of living, how are they living. All these, I think, are important questions which nobody wants to answer. So if governments are going to ensure that they get a bare minimum so that their lifestyles are not hindered in any fashion, I think it's doing a great service to the country. It's not just that you keep, giving freebies to the rich. Because what is the extent of corporate tax which has been waived off
Mr.
in this
Rao,
country?
closing remark on this topic. We are running short of time. Just a couple of minutes left. Mr. Rao, Mr. Kalapa here says that it's a very selective ignorance on your part that you basically say that I can only answer what's happening in Karnataka.
Yeah.
Let me not talk about what's happening in other states. But Mr. Rao, people are going to ask questions. People are watching across the nation. People are now going to say that Prime Minister Modi in 2022 says that Revdi culture is ruining the country. Revdi culture is not good. But then your state party units announce freebie after freebie, and you come to power. So why is it that when someone else does it, it's bad, and when the BJP does it, it's good? What's the differentiation?
But in those states, we don't have this kind of a financial emergency or a financial breakdown. They may be giving freebies, looking at proper financial planning and seeing from where the money is going to come to take care of the freebies. But here in Karnataka, you yourself just cautioned, don't give too many ideas, otherwise we'll have some more taxes over here. They should have properly planned how free buses are going to be met, how electricity is going to. Then suddenly dipping yourself into the revenue pool and saying, I'm going to take out money. They should have looked at additional resource mobilization. And as you rightly said, they should have planned properly in advance. Without any kind of planning, they have just rushed into the whole thing over there. And to say that, and as regards other states are concerned, other states which are doing this Revdi culture or whatever free, they are not having this kind of a financial emergency. 2 years, not a single project has come through. No maintenance is going on. So what does it speak? And there it is not.
Mr. Rao, Mr. Rao, I'm running short of time right now. I'm being told to wrap. But again, your point is very valid here. And I think this is something that the Supreme Court also has been hearing. The fact that there seems to be absolutely no scientific planning when it comes to the announcement of freebies. And at the end of the day, what this is doing is basically creating a political deception of which, at the end of the day, the Aam Aadmi, the middle class taxpayer, is the ultimate loser. We'll of course see how this pans out and whether the Congress and even the BJP is able to deliver on the promises and whether the freebie culture will finally end. Viewers, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of the broadcast. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned.